In this lesson, we're going to take a look at message tracking logs in Exchange Server 2010. So message tracking is it's basically just a feature of Exchange that records a log file of email traffic as messages travel between servers and mailboxes within the organization. So it occurs on hub transport, edge transport, and on mailbox servers. And but not client access servers, because client access servers aren't directly involved in message flow. Now, I spend quite a bit of my time doing message tracking log searches. This is actually quite a valuable skill to pick up if you are an Exchange server administrator, because it can really help you troubleshoot all kinds of problems such as server load issues, message delivery issues. You can use the logs to gather statistics about the email traffic in your organization. So you find that if you can become familiar with it, you'll find it very useful in your day-to-day admin work. Now, message tracking is an optional setting, but it is actually enabled by default. So here in my Exchange Management Console, I'll just drill down to the server configuration and hub transport section, and I'll have a look. I've got my two hub transport servers here. I've actually got three of them. I'll just open up one of them, and we can see here in the log settings that message tracking logging is enabled, and there's the path to the log files themselves. And that's basically it. That's the only setting that you can really configure here in the management console. But there are some additional settings that you can configure on the servers when you look in PowerShell. So let's have a look at get transport server sedex3, and I'll just pipe out, I'll just select everything to do with tracking and see what we get. Alright, so here's this setting again, message tracking log enabled, set to true, as we saw in the management console just a few seconds ago. And there's that path again, and here's some additional settings that we can also look at customizing depending on your needs. Now, we've got these log retention settings here. We've got the log max age, which defaults to 30 days. That's going to be fine for most organizations, depending on how far back you're troubleshooting message delivery issues. If you've got some particular compliance requirements, or maybe if you want to have a longer view of a larger amount of log data available to you for statistical reasons, you can increase that to 60, 90, 100 days, whatever suits your organization. And it's important to look at the maximum age and also look at the maximum directory size. So by default, this is 1000 megabytes. And what that means is that the server will begin removing old log files if the directory size, this one here, grows that large. Now, if you imagine that you may have an unexpectedly high volume of email go through your organization, you may actually reach that 1000 megabyte limit before you've reached your 30-day maximum age. So in some conditions of unexpectedly high email traffic, you may find that older logs are not available. You may only have 14 days worth or 7 days worth because the server is limiting that directory size to 1000 megabytes in this case. So if having the full 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or whatever of logging available to you, and being able to rely on that being there even in unexpectedly high email traffic situations, you may want to look at increasing this directory size to something a lot higher. Now, I've seen this set at 4 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes, 12 gigabytes. If you've got the storage on the server to comfortably store those log files, there's no reason not to increase that. Okay, and you can move that tracking log path to a different drive. If the C drive, for example, or the default path does not have enough disk capacity, you could always put a D drive, E drive, or something else like that in there. Even dedicate an entire disk or volume just to message tracking logs if they're that important for you. The maximum file size of 10 megabytes, I don't really recommend that you change that. I've never had a need to change that. And then the final setting here is for subject logging in the message tracking logs. So by default, this is enabled. So the message subject, but not the message content, will be included in the message tracking logs. But if that's a security or a privacy concern in your organization, if message subjects reveal too much information that you don't want stored in those logs, then you can disable that, and you'll still get the rest of the useful information, such as the sender, the receiver, the file size, and all of the event level logging that goes on as well. So let me just make sure that all of my transport servers have message tracking log enabled, and I'll look at their log max age and log max directory size, and we'll just make sure they're all consistent. A little bit too much information there. Make sure I only want to see tracking log max age and tracking log maximum directory size. Okay, so 3 transport servers in my organization, all set to true, all set to 30 days, and all set to 1000 megabytes, so that's fine. But just for the sake of demonstration, what I will do is increase all of those. So say get transport server, we'll pipe that into set transport server, and we'll set the message tracking log max directory size to 4 gigabytes in all cases. Okay, we'll just go back and double check that that has changed, so we can see that previously the setting was 1000 megabytes and now it is 4 gigabytes. Okay, so it's quite easy to customize those settings to suit your organization. Now you can perform searches in a couple of different ways. Here in the Exchange Management Console, in the toolbox there is this Tracking Log Explorer tool. I'll just jump through those first settings. Customer feedback settings, that's fine. So if you've ever done message tracking log searching in previous versions of Exchange, this will probably look familiar to you. Otherwise, quite self-explanatory. You can specify particular recipients, senders, servers, date ranges, and so on, and you can use any combination of those to perform your search. So if we have a look at Alan Reed at Exchange Server Pro.net, and I just need to make sure I'm searching on one of my transport servers. I'll just make that date range several days long just to make sure we can pick something up. There we go, there's a little bit of email activity for Alan Reed, a couple of different senders involved over that time period. So that's a fairly user-friendly interface, but it has a few limitations. You can't, for example, use any wildcards in any of these searches, in any of these search fields. You can't search multiple servers at once. You can't easily export the data to, for example, a CSV file. So it's okay for basic searches or maybe even single server scenarios, but the real power when you want to do message tracking log searches is actually found in PowerShell. So I will close out of that. And launch a Exchange Management Shell window. Now the commandlet for message tracking log searches is get message tracking log. But if I run that on its own, logged on here to SID EX1, It tries to connect to the transport log search service on the local server, and of course in my case CDX1 is not actually a transport server. It doesn't have that service for the commandlet to hook into and perform that search. So if you're performing your searches from a management workstation or server, or basically not from the server that you intend to search, you can use this additional parameter of server, and that will return the result for you. Now you might notice that this warning appeared that there are more results available than are currently displayed, and that's because the commandlet by default will limit the output to the first 1000 rows only. So if we want to do a search for more than the first 1000, or for something within the within more than the first 1000 results, got to use this result size parameter and set that to, well, you can set that to unlimited, and you'll basically get back all of the results. You can see that takes a little bit longer now to run through and return everything, and I will actually cancel that because it could take quite a while. Now you can also search multiple servers at once. So if we look at get transport server, that returns all of the transport servers in the organization. In my case, these also happen to be mailbox servers. Now you recall that transport logging can occur also on mailbox servers. So if you actually want to include all transport and mailbox servers in the same search, you can use get exchange server, and we'll say where is hub transport server, or is mailbox server. Basically get back the same result there. Okay. So given that, we can pipe that into get message tracking log. But what I actually like to do instead is first capture that into a variable called servers, and then we can always just use that servers variable to perform multiple searches one after another. So I can just pipe servers into get message tracking log result size unlimited. Okay, we'll get back lots of results there because it's going to go through all three of those servers and return every single result. So I will cancel that. Hopefully you're getting the idea there. Now, because some of the message tracking log searches can run quite long, and you may then want to filter or pass the results multiple different ways, sort of slice and dice multiple ways, what you can do is save yourself time so that you don't have to run the same query over and over again just because you want to filter it in a slightly different way, by capturing the actual message tracking log search results into a variable of their own. So if I want to capture them into a variable, I'll just call messages. So say messages equals, and then pipe the servers into get message tracking log result size unlimited. If I run that, then this will take quite a little while to run. And that search has finished. It took a few minutes. So because I've now captured those results into that messages variable, I can use that over and over again without having to run that several minute long query each time. So let's have a look at just how many log entries we caught. Over 100,000 log entries there. And it makes it pretty easy now to do a little bit of filtering using the where object commandlet. You can see all of the Alan Reed ones, for example, all the ones he sent. We'll get into some of that filtering shortly. But as you can see, I'm able to sort of slice and dice that information very quickly and easily once I've captured it all in that messages variable, without having to waste time running that query again. So in the next lesson, what we'll do is look at some of the different ways you can filter message tracking log searches based on attributes such as sender, recipient, and subject line.